The college baseball postseason is back. The NCAA tournament is here. 64 teams have their chance still with aspirations aligned to win a national championship in Dogpile, the mecca of college baseball, Omaha, Nebraska. Make the College World Series. Got the shirt on here. Got the college baseball hat on here. Unbelievable how fast the season's gone. And to give some context understanding, going to go through breakdown region by regional my predictions and expectations and go through which one's the hardest and toughest in my eyes and through the metrics and stats. But to give some more context, explain the format to someone that's maybe new to college baseball in the postseason tournament, how it works in the order. It's 64 teams picked by a selection committee, which that's going to be a separate video in itself, how that kind of came about in the field of 64. But there's 16 regionals. So that means 16 host sites on campuses of college teams on their own home ballparks, which is the coolest thing and one of the best things about it compared to the NCAA tournament in basketball. But it is a regional tournament. It's a mini tournament within the giant tournament. So it's double elimination. It's not one and done like the NCAA basketball tournament. It's a mini tournament, double elimination, and you have to have the last team that's standing who doesn't have two losses at the end of it will advance to a super regional, which is a head-to-head best of three series with the team that they're paired up against from the regional they're paired up against. Best of three series. Winner of that goes to Omaha. So it goes from 64 teams to the 8 teams in the super regionals, or sorry, the 16 teams in the super regionals to the 8 teams that advance out of supers dogpile their way to the College Road Series, where those 8 teams will battle off in a double elimination bracket, two brackets, one on each side, with a championship of 2 teams, one from each side meeting in the middle for the national championship on the line. Unbelievable tournament. I think the format is the best format in college sports by far. It's better than the NCAA tournament. It's better than the college football playoffs by far, and it's not even close or comparable. But as I mentioned, 1 through 64, I did a team rankings of every single team in the postseason tournament, 1 through 64, power ranking, all of them. I will drop in a separate video. So stay tuned for that. Keep an eye on that. You'll find definitely some interesting ones that I think, looking at the metrics, how they're all organized and the strength and weaknesses of a lot of teams. It's not just all 1 seeds, then 2 seeds, then 3 seeds, then 4 seeds. There's a lot of mix in there and some analytics to back it up. So I'll get into that separate video. As for that, are upsets and Cinderellas still a thing, or is that a thing of the past? Get asked this all the time. People talk about it all the time in college baseball in the postseason. And yes, I think there are, even though their NIL is a big prominent thing. The transport is so important in college baseball. There still are Cinderellas and upsets. I mean, I'll name a few. 4 seed Murray State won the Oxford Regional last year, and then the Duke Super Regional to advance the College World Series last year as a 4 seed. 4 seed. Fresno State, 4 seed that won it all in 2008 over University of Georgia. And they had to win their conference tournament to make the NCAA tournament. That's how low of a 4 seed they were. So absolutely possible. One of the best Cinderella stories in college baseball history. 4 seed Wright State eliminated #1 overall seed Vanderbilt back in 2024, I believe it was, marking the first time that the top overall seed, the #1 national seed, was eliminated before the regional finals under the current playoff format of 64 teams when expanded to that in 1999. 4 seed Evansville lost in Super Regional to Tennessee in a winner take all game 3 that Tennessee ended up winning that year, the national championship in 2024. That's how close it was. They just kind of ran out of steam. Oral Roberts 2021 made it to the College World Series as a 4 seed. 4 seed UTSA won the Austin Regional last year, beating Texas before getting swept by UCLA in the Supers. 4 seed St. Mary's as well beat #1 seed Oregon State in the opening game in 2025. But Oregon State ended up battling back out of that and going to the College World Series. Super, super fun to watch these 4 seeds go to battle, and it's anyone's game. And obviously, the big dogs, the 1s and 2 seeds, have the strength, the top end talent, and the depth, but you can never count on a 3 or 4 seed. And we've seen it time and time again. So I don't think it's dead, even with NIL, but always something to keep a lookout for and keep an eye on is a pesky, frisky 4 seed. So without further ado, we'll get into it. Toughest to weakest regional rankings with my regional picks. So to give a little context, I think the committee did overall a decent job. Not as good as the job they did last year, but there are definitely some teams and some hosts that got some really tough draws that are just kind of surprising to me when I look at it. It's just like, dang, like you get to host a regional and you kind of get screwed with the 2 seed and or 3 seed that you have. Most notably in toughest regional, Kansas, Lawrence Regional. I mean, Kansas does an unbelievable job. They have Dan Fitzgerald did a phenomenal job there with a stacked lineup. Not a single high school D1 recruit that they have on that roster, 1 through 9 JUCO or it's all transfer portal. So they get Arkansas as a 2 seed, who had an argument to host. Arkansas absolutely did have a resume to do so as well, but you get Arkansas, and I think it takes a lot of pressure off Arkansas. But Kansas is getting the toughest regional draw, I think, of every single team in the postseason that's hosting. You get Missouri State as a 3 seed, who should be and probably could easily and has the resume to be a 2 seed, in Northeastern, who has a resume to be a 3 seed. It is probably the toughest regional because it's going to be an absolute slugfest. Every team can mash. That's been one of my favorite regionals to watch. Deepest regional for sure. Number two, Nebraska regional in Lincoln. I think that the committee did no favors for Nebraska, giving them Old Miss, who also had a resume to potentially be in that borderline of hosting. They kind of didn't help themselves in the SEC tournament, as well as Arizona State, who is just a lethally good offense team. They were a 3 seed, which they really should have been a 2 seed in my mind, and a lot of the media's eyes as well. Very shocked about that. I think that that regional is going to be incredibly fun to watch and deep. It's going to be a great regional from an offense and a defensive pitching perspective as the defense is. But I just really think that Nebraska got a tough draw and gonna have a tough time advancing on that regional, and would not surprise me if Arizona State, let alone Ole Miss, wins that. Obviously, the Kansas regional in Lawrence, going back to that, I have Arkansas coming out of that. I think the pressure's off of Dave Van Horn and how deep their pitching staff is with the lethal offense they have. Give me Arkansas to come out of Kansas. I think it's going to be absolute down the wire, winner take all game for that to advance, and Arkansas takes it. Nebraska regional in Lincoln. Give me give me Ole Miss. Give me Ole Miss over Arizona State in the final. I think just their pitching staff is so deep that, as well as the offensive lineup they have is so deep, they do strike out at a high clip, but the pitching staff is so deep, and what is a massively important metric for teams to advance and go deep in the postseason is a deep, strong rotation and offensive power and scoring multiple ways. And I think Ole Miss does that as the best team in this regional to do so. But give me Arizona State to take them to a game 7 if necessary in that regional to advance. But give me the Rebels. Um, Third hardest regional, North Carolina Chapel Hill regional. I think that North Carolina got a tough draw on a 2 seed, one of the probably better top 3 or 4 2 seeds in the tournament in Tennessee, and then a very, very good Eastern Carolina 3 seed, who we know how good East Carolina is at being one of the best mid majors consistently over the years. Cliff Godwin's done a phenomenal job with that program year after year after year. And I think it's going to be a really tough regional for UNC, but it doesn't mean I don't think they're going to, because I think they do. Analytics show they got a 46% chance to win the regional. Tennessee a 35%, 30.5% chance, and East Carolina an 18.6% chance. Give me the Tar Heels to advance out of that one in a six game 6 over Tennessee. Looking back to Nebraska regional to mention the stats there, 29% chance for Nebraska to win, 44% chance for Ole Miss to win the regional in Lincoln, and a 25% chance for Arizona State, 1.4% chance for South Dakota State. I think, sneak peek, they're the worst team in the 64 team tournament. But they got to be somewhere. Someone's got to do it. So, looking at Kansas, the Lawrence Regional, 47.6% chance for Kansas to win the regional, 40.9% chance for Arkansas, 9.5% chance for Missouri State, and a 2% chance for Northeastern to win the regional. Jumping back to the fourth now toughest regional in my eyes in the metrics, Southern Miss. And I think that the committee, you could argue this is maybe one of the deepest regionals, top 3 easily. You can argue, but I put them at 4 just with I think how things fell out from a top end standpoint. Um, they have in Hattiesburg a enormously offensive regional with Southern Miss. Obviously, is a more pitching oriented team, but Virginia, a slugging team, and you have Jacksonville State, who is absolutely can mash the ball. And I think it's going to be such an exciting regional to watch. Probably one of the biggest sleeper regionals of them all. Hattiesburg Regional here. Southern Miss, a 69.9% chance to win the regional, so 70% chance to win the regional. Virginia, an 8.2% chance to win the regional. Jacksonville State, an 18.3% chance to win the regional. Give me the Gamecocks, Jacksonville State, to win this regional in a game 7 over, I think, Southern Miss that battles it out with Virginia in the semis there. But give me Jacksonville State to win this regional. They should have been a 2 seed. They absolutely should have been a 2 seed. I'm shocked that they're a 3 seed. Southern Miss, not the best offense in this regional, definitely the best pitching, but I think Jacksonville State has the best depth and balance on both sides of the ball at the highest level consistently of each team in this regional. So give me Jacksonville State, the 3 seed, to come out of this Hattiesburg regional, advance those supers. Fifth strongest and toughest regional, give me Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M got a sleeper of a tough draw in their regional, and I say that because Southern Cal, yes, I've talked about it all season about how they don't play any competition and how they only had one quad one win coming into this. They were, I think, 1-10 in quad one games. Doesn't mean they're not going to give Texas A&M a run for their money because they have one of the best pitching staffs in the country, and I'll have a player in my top 10 players to watch, hitters and pitchers later from on the pitching side of Southern Cal to mention. But they have a phenomenal, one of the best pitching staffs and rotations in the country. I think they're giving Texas A&M a tough time. A&M a 62% chance to win the regional. Southern Cal a 27% chance to win the regional. Texas State 6.3% chance to win the regional. Lamar a 4.5% chance to win the regional. Texas State kind of one of the last 4 teams in. They kind of snuck in more so, but Lamar, I think one of the better 4 seeds for sure in this tournament. Don't ever sleep on them. Even though Will Davis, the head coach at Lamar, just accepted the head coaching job at Houston, as I reported, as well as others around the industry. Doesn't mean it's going to take anything from this postseason. He is locked in and dialed in and wanted to go out with a bang in taking Lamar as far as possible in this tournament. But with that being said, give me the Aggies, give me Texas A&M to advance out of their own College Station regional. Mike Early, after the season that they've had last year and just their resurgence in health and elite talent they have across the board here, give me the Aggies there. Sixth toughest regional, Morgantown, West Virginia regional. I think that they have a really sneaky strong 2 seed in Wake Forest that's just been kind of flying under the radar, I think, because of the ACC and the dominance of Georgia Tech and North Carolina all season long. Back half of the season, I think they kind of just built momentum going into the postseason here. Currently, West Virginia has a 32% chance to win the regional. Wake Forest, a 58% chance to win the regional. I didn't even know those metrics when I picked this regional, and I picked Wake Forest to come out of this regional, the Demon Deacons to win this, even on the road, even with how good West Virginia is. I think they have no pressure going into this as nearly as much as West Virginia hosting. Kentucky, the 3 seed with a 7.6% chance to win the regional. They should not be in the tournament whatsoever. You go 2-10 in your SEC series. You win 13 games in the SEC, playing the easiest SEC schedule of any team in the conference. And 2 of your series losses are to the 2 worst teams in the SEC this year in Missouri and South Carolina. There's no business for Kentucky to be in this postseason tournament. I don't know how they did. It should have been Mercer. That's a whole separate discussion. Mercer, the highest ranked RPI team to not make the tournament under the current format, I believe, according to my research. They should have been at least the 3 seed in this, but I'm just that frustrates me. It just defies everything that the committee kind of sets the precedent on the past 7 or 8 years of how the structure and how the decision making process go, with RPI being the king and metric of when in doubt, RPI it out. And if you have a top 28 RPI in 40-win season, I mean they're the third best team at hitting home runs this season across the entire Division One, Mercer, and they didn't make it. They should be in place here in Kentucky. But with that being said, Morgantown, give me the Wake Forest Demon Deacons to win this regional and come out, advance the supers. Seventh toughest regional, Florida Gators hosting that in Gainesville. I think that Florida, who, it's crazy when you think about the stat that they've been to Omaha more times under Kevin O'Sullivan than they haven't in his tenure. It is one of the craziest stats in college baseball, and people still don't talk about it enough. I try to, but it's still not enough. 78% chance for the Florida Gators to win this regional. Miami, the 2 seed, really strong 2 seed. It'd be great to get this rivalry in the postseason. Always loved seeing this. Miami's a sleeper here, I think, as a 2 seed, but they have 11.3% chance to win this regional. Troy coming in at 10.1 clip to win the regional as a 3 seed. And I think it's just Troy's a scrappy team, but it's going to come down to Miami and Florida. And Florida's just too good, too deep on the pitching mound, both as their starting rotation with Liam Peterson, Aiden King, and then the bullpen. I think that they end up winning this regional at home, and when in doubt, trust Kevin O'Sullivan to advance in the postseason and probably go to Omaha. So with that being said, eighth, so halfway point of toughest to weakest regionals, eighth, I think is the Auburn regional down in Auburn, Alabama. And when you look at it, Auburn gets a kind of, I'd say a fair shake on regional, especially with after how they played the toughest strength of schedule in the nation and still ended up hosting and being the fourth overall seed. So they're a national seed. So top eight national seeds will host the super regionals if they advance. That's how the format goes, obviously. Auburn Regional, 83% chance to win the regional. UCF, the two seed. Kind of a surprising two seed, I'd say, more so than others for sure. Had a more of like that 2-3, leaning three seed. 5% chance to win the regional. NC State sneaking in. Coach Avents last year, they weren't even on the bubble. Apparently, the last four in. I'm surprised a little bit. But Coach Avents last year retiring, so maybe that had a little bit of nudge for the selection committee after his incredibly successful tenure as a collegiate head coach, especially at NC State. 11.5% chance to win the regional. Give me the Auburn Tigers. They've proved it all season long. They have the best starting pitching rotation in the country, top to bottom, and have proven it the hardest schedule in the hardest conference this entire year. Give me the Auburn Tigers advance. No questions asked in this one. Ninth toughest regional, Mississippi State down in Starkville. Postseason baseball to do just makes too much sense. And when you think about it, it's hard betting against Mississippi State in the postseason, especially when they get to host. A 72% chance to win the regional, according to metrics. Cincinnati, a really good two seed with one of the best home run hitting players in the country, tied for the third most home runs. Getting to him later as a little nugget there for my top 10 hitters to watch in a separate video. Cincinnati, 15.3% chance, according to metrics, to win this regional. Louisiana, 11% chance to win this regional. Obviously, I think it's going to come down to Mississippi State and Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati takes them to a game seven. I do from a slugging standpoint, but I think Mississippi State runs away with that final game seven decisiveness and advances and goes to the super regionals back to a super regional for the Bulldogs. So, number 10, toughest regional, top to bottom, toughest to weakest, Oregon over in Eugene, Oregon down in the up in the PNW. I think it's obviously predicated on the Oregon State rivalry and how good of a two seed Oregon State is. They had a resume leaning that they could potentially host if things went their way in a couple situations, but they don't. One of the toughest two seeds. Obviously, they were going to go to Eugene Regional with Oregon hosting. Oregon, a 47% chance to win this regional. Oregon State, a 49% chance to win this regional. The three seed Washington State, 2% chance. Yale, 1.7%. But don't sleep on Yale in the opening game. They have an All American starting pitcher that they're going to throw against Oregon because they have to. And it's going to be exciting to watch. So Oregon cannot overlook that game against Yale. But Oregon State, even without Dax Whitney, has a really tough and strong starting pitcher rotation. If Dax Whitney, one of the top prospects for 2027, was fully healthy and playing, they would have the best pitching staff in college baseball. I think edging out Auburn, but they don't. But they still have a great offense as well to pair with an elite pitching staff. Give me Oregon State to win this regional in Eugene. They took the series against Oregon in the regular season. Give me the Beavers. Give me the Beavers advance out of Eugene. So don't sleep on that regional in the PNW late night games there. Fun to watch. 11th toughest regional, Florida State down in Tallahassee. I think that Florida State got a really tough sleeper two seed, and I know that's kind of contradicting maybe, but it's Coastal Carolina. They were in the College World Series championship series last year, losing to LSU in a game three. But when you have a guy like Cameron Flukie, who they're going to have to pitch off against Northern Illinois, which I don't think they'll have any issues doing, and save Cameron Flukie, a top prospect coming out of college, he will be for sure to pitch against Florida State. And Florida State struggled. We've seen him struggle with elite pitching like that at times, especially that Miles Bailey, one of the top players in the country who got hurt, unfortunately, way early in the season. Not the same offense without him, but I still think that Florida State has a great shot to win this regional, and they do. 67% chance to win the regional, according to metrics. Coastal Carolina, a 21% chance to win this regional. Give me Florida State. I think just playing at home, I think they're feel off the home crowd. I'm not going to say it's as much pressure, but I think that after Coastal Carolina, and Cameron Flukie, it's going to be hard to beat Florida State twice if they don't that first time. And I think Florida State just edges them out and advances out of the Tallahassee regional. As for the 12th toughest regional, so we're getting to the last five regionals. So the fifth weakest regional or the 12th toughest regional, however you want to see it or say it, over in Athens, Georgia, down the street from me. University of Georgia, the number 3 overall seed in the tournament. I think Georgia got a big favorable draw from the committee. Somehow, some way, maybe it was just the top 4 seeds that really got a good draw with Georgia Tech, UCLA, UNC, and Georgia getting some favorable draws of the top four overall seeds. Georgia with an 86.5% chance, according to metrics, to win this regional in Athens, their home regional. They've been one of the most dynamic offenses all season long. The pitching staff's held up and answered all the questions, all the doubt. They've shut it down all season long. They win the SEC regular season a weekend before the final regular season series. That's how good they were. And they win the SEC tournament. They left no doubt on the table. Just stacked top to bottom, I think, in offense. And just the pitching staff, like I said, it's held up enough. It's going to be tough for them, I think, in a super because I think they advance to that super, depending on who they get. If it's Mississippi State with how they line up now, that's going to be an incredible series to watch. But I think they do advance out of their own regional, of course. Boston College with a 2.8% chance to win this regional. Liberty with a 8.9% chance to win the regional. I think Liberty should have been a two seed. They had a really good argument to be a two seed. Boston College, a scrappy team, but I think one of the bottom half two seeds of the tournament. And obviously the metrics support that. But give me Athens, Georgia to advance out of the Athens regional, West Johnson to continue their dominance this season and advance to a super regional. We'll get to that obviously in the next round next week. Now, the 13th toughest regional or the fourth easiest regional in my backyard here, Atlanta, Georgia, Georgia Tech. I think obviously for a separate discussion, but I think the Georgia Tech had the resume, unparalleled metrics and stats analytics to be the number one overall seed in the country. The committee did not want to change from that, and with UCLA being toe to toe preseason through the end of the season, number one unanimous every single week, I don't think they're going to change that for the selection committee on the selection committee Monday, even though they should have. And Georgia Tech has the best resume, hands down, in the country. They are the two seed overall. 90.5% chance to win the regional in Atlanta at McNeese Ballpark. Oklahoma, the two seed. I think Oklahoma's a scrappy team, and I watched them early this season, opening weekend in Arlington. Really loved what I saw. I thought they were going to have a little bit higher ceiling in just consistency this season with a lot of talent they have. It just hasn't really put the pieces together and played at their best level of ball consistently throughout the year. Oklahoma with a 4.6% chance to win this regional as a two seed. Citadel, one of the hottest teams coming out in the mid majors in the postseason for sure. Citadel winning their conference tournament, getting in 4.1% chance to win the regional. I still think Oklahoma's too deep for Citadel, even though as hot as they are. I think talent wise, just too much of a higher floor. But getting Georgia Tech to sweep through this regional and advance and slug their way, scoring close to double-digit runs in this regional to a super regional where they'll host at McNeese Ballpark and Rush Chandler Stadium here in Atlanta, Georgia. Handily taking care of business this week in a sold-out crowd. Now, the third easiest regional, weakest regional, or the 14th toughest regional, UCLA over in Los Angeles. Low crowd, but I think UCLA takes care of business. They only hold about 2,300 fans, I think, in their stadium, in Jackie Robinson Stadium. Unfortunately, that place should be a cathedral. It should be so much better than it is, but I think UCLA takes care of business, sweeping their way through. 67% chance to win the regional. Virginia Tech, the two seed, surprisingly. I thought they would have been a three seed just with their resume and where they ended up with RPI and all the metrics. But I think I have them ranked the second or worst two seed in the tournament. Still a 19.4% chance to win the regional. I mean, I think it's a little high, but it still doesn't matter. I think with Cal Poly at a 7.5% chance as a three seed, I think UCLA still takes care of business, sweeps through the regional for sure, advancing and hosting a super regional. Just UCLA has been so dominant this whole season. I don't see them having any issues getting out of their own regional here. 15th toughest regional or the second easiest regional in the tournament down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Rob Vaughn's team and squad has battled through, I think, a lot of adversity this year and performed with a lot of guys not playing their expectations, ceiling Justin LeBron to name a headliner. Still host a regional and overcome the odds adversity as a 7 seed overall, so they're a top 8 national seed. Alabama with a 38% chance to win this regional. They get a tough 2 seed, but an easier 3 and 4 seed to balance that out. But a tough 2 seed in Oklahoma State, who has a 48.6% chance to win the regional as compared to Alabama's 38% chance. And I think the metrics are spot on. I think give me Oklahoma State, give me the Pokes to advance out of this regional with no pressure on them. They're playing phenomenal baseball, some of their best baseball this season. Give me Oklahoma State, the Cowboys, to advance out of this regional and upset Alabama and advance to a super. I think it's going to be a sneakier regional. But it's gonna be fun to watch. Like I said, Oklahoma State's been playing some of their best baseball all season, and exciting to watch them play. And as for the easiest regional, I have the weakest one, Texas over in Austin. I think that Texas, I guess the committee did them a favor. You could say that for sure with the draw that they got, because it could have been a lot worse, especially just locating Texas and the options that could have gone there. 83.3% chance to win the regional according to metrics. UC Santa Barbara, a dominant pitching staff on the top end with Jackson Flores, who's going to be one of the first names off the board in his draft. Still an 8.3% chance to win the regional. So it's very overwhelmingly Texas. The 3 seed, they got one of the weaker 3 seeds for sure in Tarleton State, with just being a regional in location. 7.8% chance. It's going to be Texas, I think, running away with this, unless UC Santa Barbara can stop them with Jackson Flores, just a dominant start, pitching off and waiting and saving them for Texas in that 1-0 game. That's the only place that I can see Texas trip up, but I still think Texas has the depth, even if they lose that game on the pitching and hitting side, to come back and win that regional in a game 7. So giving the Texas Longhorns to advance there. It's going to be so much fun to watch these regionals. I think that there's going to be teams that upset that you didn't expect to lose, or expect to upset a team as a 3 or 4 seed. It's not going to surprise me as much if it happens. It's going to be, might surprise me who, but it's going to be so much fun to watch, and why postseason baseball in the structure and format that it is the best in college sports. I think it's so much better than the other college sports postseason tournaments, like I said, NCAA basketball tournament, as well as the college football playoff, just with how it works in the schedule and rotation of it being a mini tournament on the regional weekends, super regional best of 3 series, and you have an 8 team bracket in the College World Series is just the best way to do it. So I'm super stoked about it. I'm going to be watching so much college baseball this weekend and going forward. The postseason's here. Anything can happen. 64 teams still have their chance to submit their resume and earn a spot in the College World Series and go win and dogpile in Omaha, Nebraska, and raise the hardware for a national championship team. I mean, it's unbelievable. The SECS has dominated the past 10 years. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen this year. Obviously, there's a good shot of it with how many hosts there are from the SEC and how talented and deep the SEC is with a 1 and 2 seeds combined. But expect great baseball, expect upsets, expect top plays across the board all weekend. Regional weekend is the best weekend in college baseball by far. Second place is opening weekend, obviously, but regional weekend is the most fun. You get every single bit of everything you could ask for in college baseball. I'm excited to watch it and excited to recap it all afterwards and get ready for super regional. So if you've never watched college baseball, you're just now tuning in, just now getting into it, get a quad box up on the TV, plant yourself on the couch, get a nice meal, get a nice beverage, sit back and enjoy college baseball, because this is the best college baseball weekend of the season, and it's going to pay. It's going to live up to the expectation, the hype, and everything. So, best weekend to tune in. If you haven't, enjoy it, and we'll see you on the other side to go over supers and recap regionals.